Bakker, thanks for coming back. We're going to talk about carnivore diets. Okay, the carnivore diet for weight loss. Does it work or does it ruin your gut health? Well, there's some really good stuff you can read online. I like Chris Kresser. I've been reading Chris's stuff now for a few years, but there are many other people out there who write good, very good, balanced information regarding paleo, zone diet, keto diet, carnivore diets, all these kind of things. So you can find some excellent websites explaining the carnivore, but carnivore is different in that it generally infers an all meat diet. So we're looking at like all beef or lamb or pork or chicken or fish and eggs. Sometimes dairy is sort of partially included in it. I've had several comments now on the YouTube channel from different people who are really into the carnivore diet saying it's like the way to go. It's the road paved with gold when it comes to good health and all this kind of stuff. So I'm sure in the short term it's going to certainly help you to a degree, but long term you're going to get a lot of problems with eating this kind of a diet. There are no people, if we go back 10, 20, 30, 50,000 generations, there are no real peoples or tribes or whatever you want to call it, for want of a matter, that lived solely on meat. It just didn't really exist. So it's a fallacy to think that the carnivore diet is like a natural occurring diet that people subsided on many generations ago, because it's simply not true. Chris Kresser writes quite well about that. When you read, for example, the Canadian Inuit Indians, would go to great lengths to look for lichen, on bark of trees, certain mosses they could eat. They look for berries. They look for all kinds of additional foods on top of the walrus blood and meat and organs that they were consuming. So most tribes have always tried to hunt for some type of a carbohydrate as well as the meat they were consuming. So it's a fallacy to believe that people existed at some stage, just basically roasting huge steaks over open fires and that's how they lived. It's just not true. Now, if you have a look at the dynamics behind these kind of diets and what they do to the gut and to the body long term, there are many different short-term, excellent, outstanding effects you're going to get from eating like this. You'll give the colon a health because meat tends to be nearly always exclusively digested higher up. So which will mean it's going to be a very low residue diet. So there's not a lot of residue left in the stool. There's not any fiber in there as well. Okay, so it's shown within 48 hours that the gut microbiota composition changes on an all carnivore diet. I don't like it at all. I'm no fan whatsoever of an all kind of just total meat diet. I think it's really bad for you long term. Those people who are fans of the carnivore diet, I would love them to show me a guy my age who's been carnivore for 40 years to see what his gut's like, what his blood pressure is like, what his kidney health is like, the excess purines and the excess protein residues. What happens to all these? What about the guy's liver? What about the guy's kidneys? What about the guy's heart? All that animal fat. What's the guy going to look like? Well, the woman going to look like in 40 years of this kind of diet? Well, I've been eating Mediterranean for 40 plus years and my heart's in fantastic shape. My circulation's great. I've got blood pressure for a 20-year-old. I'm 60, almost 60. Got my bloods back and they're all fantastic. So do I eat an all meat diet? No. But I do believe that meat is an important part of the diet, albeit a small part of the diet. Okay? When you start making radical modifications to your diet, you're going to make radical modification to your gut in time. And that in turn is going to create problems for you. We're talking deficiencies of trace elements. We're talking calcium deficiency, for example. We're talking fat soluble vitamin deficiencies in some instances, in others not. But particularly the trace elements, okay? The small things like manganese. What about magnesium? Are you going to get magnesium from meat? Not likely. So you need to be aware of all of these kind of potential deficiencies that creep in, which will give you a lot of problems down the track. We're not talking the first year, we're talking the first 5 to 10 years. Many patients I've worked with over the years who are at one stage vegan resorted back into adding some dairy or some lean meats into their diet. And I found usually around the 5, 6, 7 year mark is about as long as many could hold out until their B12 stores were so low, they felt so sick that they had to make changes. Now I expect carnivore people to be like this too, long term, within 5 to 7 years. If you can stomach eating meat for breakfast for 5 to 7 years, I couldn't do it. But if you can do it for that long, it'll be interesting to see what pans out for these kind of people. Is it a healthy way to lose weight? I think it's healthy short term, but I don't think all meat's healthy. I think keto is probably a better approach than the carnivore, in my opinion. But I still think that you can, look at the carnivore diet short term and then slowly add some, vegetables and fruits and different things in as you go along when you reach your objective. If it's weight loss you're looking for, but if it's overall long-term health you desire, an all-meat diet is not the way to go. Not just my opinion, but the opinion of many expert people out there. But the jury's still out. Let's just see what it's like in 20, 30 years of people doing these diets, what their digestive system is going to really truly be like. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your steak while you can. And also don't forget to click on the link below if you want my free Candida report. Thanks for tuning in.